What's up guys, my name's Brandon, and the iPad has so many little hidden tricks and features that most people do not even know exist. So in this video, I'm going to show you 14 of those iPad tricks that you and most people probably did not know existed. And as always, if you find at least one new tip or trick in this video, all I ask is that you give it a thumbs up. Okay, so if you want to select multiple photos to send to somebody in a message, or if you have multiple photos that you want to move to maybe the Files application, most people would just go to select right here and then select the photos that you want to send and then tap on the share icon and then click on the application. That's just a long process. Instead, there's a much easier way to do that. All you need to do is take and tap and hold on a photo until you can kind of drag it around like this, like an icon on the home screen, and then just simply tap on all the other photos that you want to add to maybe send or put in the Files application, and stay holding down on the screen here, and then use your other finger to go into the other application that you want to put these files in. So for example, the Files application, and then we're in a folder, I can just let go and it will send those photos to the Files application. And you can do the same thing if you were trying to send these in a message, and an email, or even if you wanted to add these to Notion. Like I'll just take these three right here and then go to Notion and drag them right here, and it's going to upload those files to Notion in this specific document. But there's even more that you can do with that drag and drop gesture, because you could also do this inside of Safari. So if you see an image that you want to save, or if you maybe want to add it to Notes for this example, instead of taking and tapping and holding on the photo and then save to Photos or sharing it and putting it somewhere else, you can just take and drag that photo as well. So you can do that same gesture where you kind of tap and hold and then pull it out like this, and now you have that photo that you could pop into maybe something like a Notes application or a Notes document. So we'll go ahead and start a new note, and we'll drop that in right here, and there we go. We have that photo without even saving it to our camera roll. And you can even do this for text as well. So if I wanted to take this little paragraph right here, you can do the same action that you do for photos and take and hold on that, and you can see you can kind of pull it out like this, and then go into Notes, for example, and drop the notes right there, or drop the text right there, and it will all be copied over with the hyperlinks included. Now this next trick only works on iPadOS 18 and later. So if you have an external drive connected, whether that be an SSD or a hard drive, and you go into the Files application and you locate that drive, if you tap and hold on that and go to erase, you now have the option to reformat that drive. So we can reformat it to APFS, exFAT, or FAT. Next up, if you want to access third-party storage services like Google Drive or Dropbox in the Files application, you can do that. So you need to tap on the three dots right up here and then go to Edit Sidebar, and you'll notice that we have toggles for Google Drive and Dropbox if you have those applications installed. And then when you select those and tap on Done, you can now access all of your Google Drive documents along with your Dropbox documents if you are signed in. And to me, this just makes the iPad feel a lot more like a desktop computer, and it really makes me feel like I have everything in one spot in the Files application. Also, if you're handwriting text, if you're somebody who takes a lot of notes, or you just do a lot of writing with the Apple Pencil, if you have a section where you maybe had the two words too close together, like where we have awesome and don't, they're too close together. But if you want to space those out, you can do so without needing to erase it and start over. So if you tap and hold in between those, you'll see this yellow little icon shows up here, and you can space it out however much you would like. Now this next tip has to do with screenshots, and more specifically marking up screenshots. So if we go to take a screenshot of the control center here, and let's say we want to show somebody where the volume slider is in our control center. So it's right here, and if I wanted to add, let's just say a rectangle over top of that, or a square over top of that, and an arrow. Most people will just go in here to the plus, add shape, and then they're gonna add a square. You're gonna have to go in here and put no fill. You're gonna have to add a border. You get the point. It's gonna be a long process to add that square, and then go in here again, add shape, and add a arrow. Well, an easier way to do that is to just take your pen tool, which is selected by default, and just simply draw it yourself. But the key is to keep holding down once you draw the shape, and that will perfect that shape, and it will give you the same thing that you would have done if you tapped on the plus and add shape. So it's going to give you that square, and same with a arrow. So if I go ahead and draw my arrow and I keep holding down, it's going to make it perfect, and there we go. That is so much easier and so much quicker than going through this method right here. Now, a lot of people know the arrow and the square, but you could also do this for a star. So if you draw a star like that, or a thought cloud, you can do that as well. So let me just draw a better cloud here. If you tap and hold on that, it will create a little thought cloud or a cloud in the sky, as you can see there. You can do it for pretty much any shape, and this applies to the Notes application or Freeform, any application as well. You can do the same kind of function. And we can go further with this as well. So if you select the selector tool down here, this little gray and white one, and you select both the arrow and the square, just like so, it's going to select both shapes at the same time, and you can move those around together. And then the last trick I'll show in here has to do with the eraser. So instead of just going in here and having to scribble through or changing the size of the eraser to erase everything, you could just tap on the eraser and go to Object Eraser, and this will allow you to just do a one tap erase of everything that you drew. So just one tap on everything and boom, it's gone. So the next one might be obvious to some people, but I cannot tell you how many people have been so surprised when they hear that you can add folders to the dock. So I have all my games down here, and instead of having all of these different games, what is it, 6 games down here in my dock, just clogging up all the room, I just put them all in a folder, and that lives down in my dock. So you can add folders to the dock if you would like to. You can see that if this was on the home screen, all I have to do is just simply drag it into my dock, and there we go. Now, another tip that a lot of people still don't know is with the keyboard. So take a look at this notes document right here, and you can see the keyboard takes up literally half the screen. So if I had some text down here, I would have to continue scrolling, and I'd have to scroll down just because the keyboard gets in the way. Now, you can hide it if you want to, but you can't type at the same time as seeing the text that this covers. So instead, you can just simply do a pinch gesture in, and it will create a small keyboard that you can move around wherever you want on your screen. This is kind of like a one-handed keyboard that is the size of an iPhone keyboard. So you could also pinch out to make that full size again. And speaking of the keyboard, there's also another tip I wanted to share in here, and that is that if you wanted to type out something with numbers, if you ever find yourself going from text to numbers very often and you do not have this top bar up here, you can swipe down to access what you would have to press shift for instead. So what I mean by that is if I tap on shift and hold shift and press the number 4, of course it's going to give me the money sign, or if I do that for the 7, it's going to give me the and sign, only because I'm holding down shift. However, a quicker way to do that is for the 7, we could just simply swipe down on that, and you can kind of see a little animation. It changes right here in this little keycap. It will change to the shift version of that key. So I can put the asterisk there, I could do the parentheses there, and the other parentheses here by simply dragging down. So that works even if you have different keys up here. If you have a different size iPad, if you swipe down on these top set of keys, it will give you the shift version of whatever that key is. And by the way, that applies to any key on the keyboard that has a shift variant. So if I wanted to add a question mark, I could swipe down even though it's down here and get that question mark. So by now, most of you probably already know that you can use the spacebar as a glorified trackpad. So if you tap and hold on the spacebar, all the keys will disappear, and you can use this to kind of go around through text and get in between characters easier. However, did you know that you could also tap with another finger while you're holding down to enter select mode? So if I wanted to select some text, I can be in the trackpad mode, but then simply tap with another finger, and now it will select the text that I want. Now, another trick is an easy way to insert a signature if you have an Apple Pencil Pro. So if you have the latest Apple Pencil Pro, you could just go around anywhere on the screen and then press in on the Apple Pencil, and you'll feel the haptic feedback. And from here, you have a menu. And if you tap on these 3 dots, you will see that there's now a signature button. So you could tap on that and it will prompt you with your signatures, and you could add those right there. So that's a much quicker and easier way to add a signature into the Notes application or whatever application you're in if you want to add a signature. And this barrel feature also gives you quick access to your different tools, the color, and all these other options as well, like shapes, stickers, and your pencil settings. Now, another tip that I use all the time is that if your iPad is in a locked state, so if it's completely locked and off, if you have your Apple Pencil here and you simply tap on the lock screen, that's going to pull up a note very quickly, so you can jot down that thought that you you had, or if you wanted to draw something, if you just got some quick inspiration, you can do that by simply tapping on the lock screen and it just goes straight here. It's awesome. Now, if you're already on your iPad and you want to create a new quick note, there is an option in the control center to do that, but an easier way is with the built-in gestures, which I have mine set to the bottom left-hand corner. So I can just drag from the bottom left-hand corner and that will pull up my quick note and I can jot down my thoughts very easily. Now you can set this as well inside of your settings. So if you go to settings, Apple Pencil, you have the option for pencil gestures, bottom left corner for quick notes, or you can do that for the bottom right corner if you would rather have that. But you do not have to have an Apple Pencil because you could do this as well under multitasking and gestures and then go down to the bottom and you have swipe finger from corner. So if you have that turned on, the bottom left corner, you can see I could use my finger here and that will pull up that quick note as well. So the same way that the Apple Pencil does it, you can do that with your finger as long as you have this selected. So this next one, some of you guys are going to know, some of you are not going to know, but you need to master hand gestures on the iPad. So I know that a lot of us have the Magic Keyboard and the Apple Pencil, so you may not use your hands as much on your iPad. But if you do only have an iPad or you just use your hands a lot on your iPad, you need to know these hand gestures. And these are the 3-finger and the 4-finger gesture. So a 3-finger swipe to undo and redo is super key. So if I typed in something and maybe I didn't want that, I could take 3 fingers and drag to the right to redo. Or if I want to undo what I just did, 3 fingers and drag to the left. So there we go. I'm undoing everything I did previously. Now I can take these 3 fingers and drag to the right and that will redo it. So it might seem funny at first to do, but once you know this and once you get the hang of it, it is so convenient. And then one of my favorites is copying and pasting. So you can do this with 3 fingers as well. So we know that you can select something and then select on copy and then select on paste. Everybody knows that, but if you take 3 fingers, it's so much easier and you can do this anywhere on the screen. So I'm going to take these 3 fingers. I have something selected right here and we're going to pinch in with those 3 fingers. And you can see up there, it says copy. Now, if I want to paste that, I'll go down here, and if I want to paste that, I just pinch out like so, and it will paste that right there. You can see I could just keep doing that with 3 fingers. Again, it might take a little bit to get used to if you're not used to it, but it's super handy once you get the hang of it. And then one of my other favorites is a 4-finger gesture, and this is for moving between applications or swiping between applications because you can use this little bar down here. That is one way to go back and forth between applications quickly, but I still find that especially on a 13-inch device, that takes a while to go all the way down to the bottom of the screen if you're up at the top. So instead, I take my 4 fingers right here, I exclude my pinky, and I just simply swipe over. So I can just swipe over very easily into these different applications, and I find that faster and just more convenient on a big screen iPad than using this bottom bar. Now this next tip is great if you want to create a PDF document out of existing photos and other PDF documents. So maybe for tax purposes, if you have multiple, screenshots of your, income or whatever, you can combine those all into one PDF document in the Files application. So you just want to select all the files that you want to combine into a PDF document and then just simply tap and hold once you have those selected. And from here, you'll see that we now have a quick actions button. And when you go to quick actions, we now have the option to create PDF. And when you do that, it will automatically create the PDF and put it in that folder for you. And then the final trick I wanted to show you is exclusive to iPadOS 18 and newer, but this is a really useful one that should have been here in the Files application all along. So if you tap and hold on any of the files inside of your iCloud Drive, you'll notice that we now have a new option for keep downloaded. When you select that, that file will stay in your iCloud Drive and it will stay downloaded. So you do not need to re-download it in a month, 2 months, 6 months down the road. It's not going to just go into the cache. You're not going to have the full file, the full size already downloaded, so you no longer need to re-download it in the future. So those are some of my favorite iPad tips and tricks that I've been using lately. So if you want to see more videos like this, or if you found this one useful, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe and let me know in a comment down below if you would like to see a part 2 and see more tips and tricks to take full advantage of the iPad. But thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.